Hello, this is Professor Teresa Pelkie. This is Session 1, Part 2, How SQL is Implemented. If you've been involved with computer programming or applications like Microsoft Excel or Access, you've probably heard the term SQL. When people talk about SQL, they usually mean the computer language that is used to get data from a database. In addition to retrieving data, there are many other features of SQL that are used to interact with the database. You'll learn more about those features in this course. SQL has been implemented by many software companies and computer manufacturers. To make it easier to use SQL with different systems, practically all of the vendors of SQL database systems try to comply with the standard definition of SQL. The standard is maintained by the American National Standards Institute, or ANSI. Since its release in the 1970s, there have been many revisions to the SQL standards to accommodate new features. Even with the standards, there are many variations in how SQL is implemented. In some cases, vendors create an extension to the language to take advantage of features in their product. Also, some implementations of SQL might not provide all of the features that are specific to the standard. If you only work with one type of SQL database, you usually don't have to be concerned with how much or how little of the standard is implemented by that database. You simply use the features that are available to you. But if you find SQL examples that are for a different database, you need to be aware that the examples might be using features that aren't available for your database. SQL is broadly divided into three major components. These components are DML, or Data Manipulation Language, DDL, or Data Definition Language, DCL, or Data Control Language. In this course and in day-to-day usage, you will usually be working with DML statements. DML statements are used to retrieve data and to change data in a database. DDL is used to define, create, and modify objects that are contained within a database. For example, a database contains one or more tables, which are the objects that contain data. Tables are defined and created using DDL statements. You will be working with DDL statements throughout this course. DCL is used to define security and permissions for objects in the database. You will also learn about DCL statements in this course. When you install an SQL database management system on your computer, you are installing programs that run on your computer. Those programs use memory and disk in your computer and also use some of the processor capacity. The database management system typically starts when you start or boot up the computer. Most database management systems have a setting that let you control whether or not it automatically starts. The alternative is for you to explicitly start the database management system. A database management system usually runs as a background process or service on your computer. That means that there is usually no window open on your desktop. As you'll see, the MySQL database management system can be accessed with the MySQL Workbench, which provides a graphical user interface to work with the database. However, the Workbench is not the database management system. Instead, it is an application that uses the database. The database itself runs as a separate application. In addition to controlling the objects within the database, the database management system interacts with the operating system of the computer. For example, if you install MySQL on a PC running Windows, the MySQL database management system interacts with Windows to request memory and disk resources from the Windows operating system. There are usually several configuration options that you can use to control the database management system's usage of system resources. For example, you can configure the minimum and maximum amount of memory that the database management system will request from the operating system. We won't be getting into those details in this course. When you install MySQL on your PC or Mac, the default settings are fine for the work you'll be doing in this course. Most database management systems include two ways that you can interact with the database: command line, graphical user interface. The command line interface is used by opening a command prompt window or shell and starting the database's command processing program. Once the command processing program is started, you type commands and parameters. The commands and parameters are sent to the database management system, which can be running on the same system or might be on another computer in the network. After processing a command, the results or error messages are displayed by the command processing program. We will work with MySQL using command line techniques later in this course. An alternative to the command line is a graphical user interface, or GUI program. The GUI might be provided as a Windows or Mac application, or it might be provided using a web browser. In a GUI, you can work with lists of objects in the database and use the mouse to select an object to work with. The GUI includes extensive prompting for database operations. Results are displayed in nicely formatted grids. We will make extensive use of the MySQL workbench in this course. Finally, we'll look at how SQL is used with an application. Most database management systems include many options for connecting to the database. You select the connection option based on the tool or programming language that you are using for your application. For example, if you are developing a web application that uses the PHP programming language, you can connect to MySQL using the MySQL native driver for PHP. Other languages use other types of connectors. Visual Basic and C#, two Microsoft languages, can use OLEDB or .NET database providers. Those providers are installed on the system where the application is running, which might be another system in the network. Java applications use JDBC drivers. Finally, SQL CLI, or Call Level Interface, and ODBC are typically used with the C and C++ programming languages. With that, we're done with this video. In the next video, we'll look at how to get started working with MySQL, the database management system that we'll be using in this course.